world of brash, ostentatious four-seat convertibles and some that probably shouldn't have ever existed, the new Mercedes CLE Cabriolet, represents a four-seater convertible with the old school elegance. But is this beauty just skin deep? Oi! Well, we're going to have a very important use for this wig in a little bit, but first let's talk about the car's design because, well, I think the door was wide open for Mercedes to come along and make an elegant four-seater convertible, not least because its main rival BMW, well, that 4 Series convertible, it has those big grills. It ain't elegant. But I have to admit, it's not all elegance on this car as well. There are some gaudy features. Take, for example, on this front grille, where I've counted there are more visible stars than the Andromeda Galaxy. And then if you follow me around to the side of the car, just notice that headlight looks just as out of breath as I am. You'll notice that this car's got some black 20-inch alloy wheels. They're nice, but against the silver paintwork, I don't think it does much for the car. I think you can spec a CLE Cabriolet and a coupe much nicer than this one. And in fact, I have done on the configurator. But at least with the roof down, you get to see that flashy interior. And you also spot these massive rear speakers. This is a Burmeister sound system, and I'm going to tell you what I think of it in a little bit. But first I want to show you the tail of the car, where you get Mercedes' now increasingly signature look, where it looks like it's got bank robber mask on here, and you also get 2 pretty wide exhaust pipes. You think so anyway, until you look closer and you realize these are completely fake. And that's really confusing because this is a 3-litre 6-cylinder car, and it does genuinely have 2 exhaust pipes, but they are underneath the car. So why has Mercedes put fake ones up here? That's not going to impress you mates at the golf club. Talking of golf clubs, the boot of this CLE is easily big enough to swallow a set of them, although we can't test that because we've only got mini golf clubs and apparently that doesn't count. But we do know that there is so much space in here that even Jamil's quite chunky cabin aeroplane carry-on bag, well, it gets swallowed so easily that there's easily enough room down here for another one as well. And plus you even get a little bit of underfloor storage. I say a little bit, there's a little box under there and not much else. But if you need more room, you can actually lift up this section where the soft top lives. But well, I've forgotten to put the roof back up actually because I'm an idiot. But I can show you in this cutaway clip here how easy it is to do that. You just press a button and it lifts away, exposing more room. But if you need more space still, well, with just the pull of 2 switches in the boot here, you do actually fold down the lower section of these rear seats, exposing masses of space. And that's plenty of room for your skis or even your golf clubs. Now, while the outside of this CLE Cabriolet definitely looks like the 70 grand car this CLE Cabriolet 450 Premium Edition is, when you get into the front seats, well, you start to find a few features that don't feel so befitting at that cost. And they're really some of the buttons you press. And it's because they're not proper buttons like they would have been in convertible Mercs of old, like the CLK. Instead, they are these buttons on rockers. So this is an entire single piece of plastic on a rocker. And the same is down on your mirror adjustments as well. It just feels a little bit on the low cost side. Although thankfully, the stuff they control, the technology they manage is really very good. Merc's digital tech is really, really good. And it's really fast as well, really quick to react. Nice and easy to use, just very intuitive. And of course you get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto wirelessly in this car. So as soon as you get in, it all just fires up. And I really like the instrument cluster ahead of me here. I think the graphics and the displays, it's all bespoke to Mercedes, looks high quality and premium. But I really have to call out the steering wheel too, because it's quite big, but it feels right in the car. And I like the fact that the buttons, while they are touch sensitive, I like that they're not overly close to where your thumbs rest. So it means, unlike Golfs of recent years, you don't accidentally press them as you're going around corners. So it's well packaged, well put together and easy to use. And that goes also for the gear selector, which lives behind the steering wheel, all Mercedes now. And so it means that you've cleared up all of this room on the center console. So even though this is a pretty snug coupe position here, actually, I've got a lot of room. And also I like the way this opens. Check out that smooth opening action there. That feels high cost, doesn't it? And it opens up room for 2 cups. You've also got a phone charger on a wireless mat there. And then you've got 2 of this car's 6 USB-C ports. And you also get a bit of room in there as well. Plus, there's storage in the door pockets, in the glove box. And despite the fact that you can get a CLA in coupe form, when you get the Cabriolet, you get Mercedes' cool AirScarf tech, which basically means you've got heat blowing onto your neck. So if you've got the roof down in a colder month, you should stay relatively warm. So it does feel like a nice car, a nice premium machine. And that's true when you look at the carbon fiber on the dash. But by contrast, you will find in easy reach some pretty hard scratch plastics. And these particular ones are actually where your knees are going to rest on a long journey. So you might get sore kneecaps if you go over a few bumps. And that would really leave you asking the question, where has the £70,000 of this car gone?
I mean, this is what you can get for 70 grand on cinch. Haven't these AMG GTs aged well? Phew.
I think your 70 grand is more likely to have gone on this car's powertrain and all the amazing bits around it, because this CLE Cabriolet in 450 trim has a 400 horsepower setup, and that is thanks to a turbocharged 3-litre straight-six engine, which is smooth and silky, like treacle heated on the stove. And then it's supported by a mild hybrid system. So that means you've got instantaneous reactions, but you've also got this lovely and pretty powerful delivery of 6-cylinder music. And then you've got to remember this car has 9 automatic speeds. Yes, 9 gears, because Mercedes, well, they like to use more cogs to give you more of a smooth drive. It means it's always in the right gear. And so that means it feels quick to accelerate. This is a quick car, but more importantly, it's very fuel efficient. In fact, you'll get over 35 miles per gallon on a run. In fact, I can prove it because I did it this morning on the drive. This is a pretty efficient engine. Well, that is if you drive it sensibly, but if you put your foot down, it can shift. But of course, this is a 4-seater car, so we should check out what it's like when you're sitting in the back seats. Now, it is actually quite easy to get in the back of the CLE Cabriolet, because all you got to do is pull this flap on the seat and then the electronics do the rest of the work for you. Plus, when you haven't got the roof on, well, it couldn't be much easier. Although with the roof on, it is a bit squeezed to climb in, but once you're in, you're all right. I mean, for a rear seat in a cabriolet, well, there's quite a lot of space. I've got space for my feet, I've got space for my knees. It is snug, but every car like this is, barring some of the massive ones like a Conti GTC, for example. But I have to say, as a 4-seater, I feel pretty comfortable. And I've also got space in the middle here for a couple of cups and bits down there. I've even got a cup holder down there as well. And well, I have to say, when it comes to headroom, it is very, very good. Although that's only true when the roof is off. When the roof is on, it is a massive squeeze. So much so that an adult of my height can't fit at all. I'm being crushed by one of the rear beams. So it's a bit of a squeeze with the roof on. But if you're going out topless, good times. And that's especially true even when the wind is blowing, because Mercedes has a very innovative technology called AirCap, and this forms part of it. And that, they say, helps to stop the wind in the cabin entirely. I've called into action our patented cinch Airflowometer 3000, this thing here, to test out the airflow and how it's affected by that air cap. Now, I've lowered it back down now just to see what it is like in a generic setting. We're going to get up to the national speed limit, and you'll see that the wind flow on my gorgeous locks, well, it's all right, isn't it? It's sort of blowing around a little bit. It's not too bad. But if I put the windows down, let's see how that affects it. Oh, I'm getting a bit of a... It's affecting my vision. But thanks to Mercedes' special tech, we can now, lower, or raise, I should say, the air cap. Air cap. There we go. It's made absolutely no difference because I've got the windows down. So let's give it a fair test and see what's happening. Mind of its own. Oh, hello. That is remarkably calm. The Airflowometer 3000 is registering its lowest score ever. I am now doing the national speed limit, and the hair is only slightly in my eyes and mouth. I think that's a pass. And you know what? If you do keep up the pace and you want to enjoy this car on an open road, it will let you do that. It does manage to hold that 2-ton weight relatively well, although there is a little bit of body roll demonstrated here. Quite a bit of lean there, but it's never out of control. And that's also true in slipperier times because we've got a 4MATIC all-wheel drive system on this car. So theoretically, with your heated scarf blowing on your neck and hopefully with no rainfall, you can have fun in this car on the country roads, even in the cold of winter. Where there is a minor issue is, well, in the way this car rides. It actually does deal with the big bumps very well, and actually big speed humps and larger compressions, well, it's got no issues with them whatsoever. It rides lovely and it smooths them out. But if you come across the potholes or the lower drain covers that we have in the UK, real challenges. Well, this car does struggle, and then it will thud quite hard. There have been times today when I've driven along and I've seen a crack or a rut and I've not been able to avoid it, and I've tensed up and the car's banged into them. You get the impression Mercedes has absolutely nailed this setup for a German road, but they didn't have time to test it on the British road surface. Really, what you realise is that this is a car that wants to be driven at 5 or 6 tenths. If you can cruise along and you let the gearbox figure out which gear it needs to be in, and let the engine just lean into its loads of torque, its vast reserves of muscle, well then you can enjoy this car for what it's all about. And that is comfort and making you feel good. And of course, if everything goes a little bit Britain in autumn, i.e. the sun is quickly replaced by rain, well, at just the flick of a switch, and at speeds of up to 37 miles per hour, you can lift this CLE's Cabriolet roof over your head. And when you do so, you'll note that things get a lot calmer and a lot more insulated. Not the quickest one out there, took quite a while that, but once it's up, you kind of feel like you're in a coupe. Honestly, the insulation and refinement in this car is fantastic. You've got a double layered roof above you and it doesn't feel at all like I'm in a soft top.
Best of all, it doesn't matter if you're topless or not. The Burmeister sound system is absolutely fantastic, producing quality, powerful sound, no matter your music taste.
So, the only question remaining is which car would I rather arrive at the mini golf club in? Would it be this, the CLE Cabriolet, or would it be its arch rival from BMW, the M440i spec of the 4 Series Cabriolet? Well, I have to admit that I do like my cars a little bit sportier, so the BMW probably would get my vote. But if you like your cars to be more plush, more relaxing, and well, if you've got luscious locks to keep control of, well, this CLE Cabriolet is an excellent car, especially in 6-cylinder 450 trim. Although I have to admit, there's a car for me that trumps both of them with quite a big margin, and it's this BMW Z4 with one very rare feature, which you're gonna have to watch a video to see what it is. But if you need more inspiration for convertibles, well, we've compiled all of our convertible reviews into this playlist over here. As for me, I'm gonna crank up the volume on that amazing CLE sound system I mentioned earlier and live my best life. Oi!